and then you don't even have now the money that you could have gotten.
Yeah, and
You could have
because
just taken those profits and then redo it again. But no, I was holding it for more, and then I'm out. But I don't do that anymore.
no, right, because it was like the concept was, using high leverage to take advantage of very like candles. Like one candle is
Yeah.
30% profit, but everybody they just couldn't grasp the concept of that's the end of the trade. Like when you're scalping, all you're doing is like scalping a piece of the trade. Like when you're just that's it. That's like a quick hit and you're out. But everyone kept trying to run it longer, and then they would go backwards, right? Because they always think
Yep.
it's going to go the other way, and it's like no, that you have to take profit. So that was the whole thing when we spent those weeks like 20% profits, 30% profits, just take them and compound them, right? So that's kind of like the battle with high leverages. I think a lot of guys don't realize what trade they're in. Those trades aren't designed to go so far. That's why we wait for an A trade, right? When A
Yeah.
trade, the volume is below the zero on the 1 hour. Everything is set up for the exhaustion of the trade, and those are the trades that you go for longer positions, right? But these guys are trading B trades the same way as they do A's, and that's not how that works. B trades are for 20 to 30%. C trades are just basically for sniping if everything works out well. But if you haven't mastered B and A trades, then you shouldn't be doing C trades. All right, so it's just too hard for those guys to, close their profits or take it because every time they move their stop loss, it starts to go the other way, and then they move their stop loss the other way, and it's like don't move your stop loss. It's there to basically close the trade, even if it's going the other way, right?
Yeah.
So now, and that's kind of what everybody does. They never take profit, and then they go the
I
other way.
know. I
So
know, but now, I mean, after a while, after you start, just noticing that, man, I could have just taken it, but no, I was hoping for more, and now I'm down.
yeah,
It comes
yeah.
to a point to where like you realize that no matter what, it always end up going back to whatever you bought it for at the beginning,
Yes, because
and
that's
then
that's what the trade we're in. We're in a quick scalp. That means it's going to be in a trading zone, right? Like it's going to go up and down in this little area. Could go that way for 2 3 hours
yeah,
until it makes a decision, which is either builds momentum and then it explodes up, or it loses momentum and it finally dumps. But you have a channel, you have a trading channel. And once you get in that channel, the top is the top and the bottom is the bottom. But it just keeps going back and forth. So if you're not taking those profits, you're just going back to zero. And if you don't take profits, you're back to zero. And then you're in the trade so long that it finally explodes and you lose, and now you're down 20%. You
yeah,
know?
and then you sell it. You're like,
Yeah.
man, I'm just gonna get out, and then you sell it, and it goes the other way, like the way you were waiting for.
Yeah.
Like, man, are they watching me or what?
Yeah. Well, that's because it's the understanding of it, right? So after, kind of like trying to explain that, hey, listen, you set your profits, you set your stop loss. When it hits, you wait for the next entry to come around. Could be 10 minutes,
Yeah,
could be 20, could be an hour. It might not even come back around. But then you just move on. But guys have a hard time because they're jumping the trade, like they see it about to about to cross over, and then they jump and then it bounces, and now they're down 10%, and now they're in a bad position. So that's what I
yeah,
noticed when I was doing all the reviews, is that guys were just like not taking the profits. Like a lot of times I would do a review and the guy would lose 20%, but I look at the thing and I say, hey man, you should have been up 70. And he's like, yeah, I was up 70, but I thought it was going to hit the 30-minute or the 1 hour red moon, so I thought it was going to do more. So I stayed in it, and then it went negative, and then I was moving my stop loss down, and then it jumped on me and started to run up. And I'm like, well, okay. The goal is 20% profits. Like anytime we
yeah,
get above that, that's a win.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No, I get it,
yeah,
and I feel like it's just one of those things. I think getting the RSIs and the indicators, I think all that part, it's easy understanding. I think, well, I guess, easier.
mm-hmm.
But I think the harder part or habit to break is just the greed. Overcome the greed, and just like you said, just you see profits, just take them. you know.
Yeah, they add
And
up.
then just take them and that's it, move on. And then just chillax, just wait. Because then, maybe I could just go back in for another trade.
Yeah,
And then you go back in and then you
goes
end
the other
up
way.
just losing half of what you already made.
Right. A lot of guys will have a huge win, do 200-300%, and then jump in again and lose 100.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, the trade, you have to wait for the next trade entry. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's been the hardest part for the last couple months, is just kind of get guys to understand that, the whole goal is to master 20 to 30%, because the
Mm-hmm.
goal is to build up, and once you can do that every single time, and you have a 20% gain record all the time, when you have $5,000, that's $1,000.
Yeah.
Like that's what you want to do. You want to make trades that you're confident in every single time, and like, all right, this is it, okay. And it's following the 4 steps: step, checklist, entry, like boom, right? That's it. It either hits or it closes, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm implementing the 10 trade review. So this way, when the guys start off, we check the 10 trades. What did you actually make? Right? So at the end, you could lose. It's okay to lose trades. Guys don't understand it. You can lose trades,
Yeah.
but if you're only losing 10% on your stop loss and your wins are 20-30, at the end of the day, once you master more wins than losses, you will be up 100% by the end of 10 trades. Right?
Yeah.
And eventually,
Mm-hmm.
you'll get up 200% on 10 trades to 300%. Now you're ready to basically start increasing your bag, because now you've figured out the system that works, right? You figured out the 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, right? Not changing the stop loss because you think it's going to happen, not changing it because it looks like it's going to happen, right? Just follow the system, compound your profits, and keep adding to your bags while you learn. So that's kind of
Yeah.
where we're at now. So that's why I was like, that's why I was talking. That's why I want to talk to you a couple times, last couple weeks, because I realized I was watching you auto in, and I'm like, all right, I got to get Carlos understand, like, take profits.
Yeah.
Like, because I know
Yeah, no,
it's a
I
thing.
know, and like I said, it's just, and sometimes since I'm always on the go and doing things with the family and just like work and whatever, I'm always just doing always something, and so a lot of times when I'm on the computer, then I'm able to see like better, because I have more time. I'm sitting there, I'm focusing on what I'm doing, looking at the different time frames. I enter the right time and all that, but when I'm on the go, like right now, I
Mm-hmm.
was I was driving, and it was an hour drive. So as I was driving, I was just kind of, just going through the trading view, looking at this, looking at that, and then, just sometimes I even forget to put a stop
Stop
loss,
loss.
and so that's probably why I end up just in the position that I'm in. But now I have a little bit better understanding. I'm the way I do it now is to where, like, okay, so if it goes up 30%, or then I just put my stop loss 5% in the money,
Mm-hmm.
and then just kind of let it ride a little bit. And if it goes, let's say 50, then I just move it to 25,
Right.
and then that's it. Just let it ride. And I put 75% of the position, close it at 25. And then if it go, because like I was telling you, sometimes end up just going back to where you bought it from.
Yeah.
You know?
All the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is so I sent you 2 videos in there, right? So one of them is the trading zones. So that'll help you kind of like maximize what you've been looking at. So this way, when you go to make a random trade, you want to at least be in the trading zone, right? And then the
Yeah.
other one is the position trade, right? Which is where you use a 10 or 20x leverage. And this will give you an understanding of how to let it run and where you should close it, right? So this will be a breakdown of, like, when you're in the trades, what you can quickly check and be like, all right, what does that look like, right? So right now I seen, so when you're doing the longer trades, like you're doing the 10 or 20s, right? It's basically, the simple breakdown would be this, right? It's always, the whole system is always going to be based around, shorts are always going to be based around the 2-hour RSI and the 4-hour, right? When those two are together, you're going to get the movement you want, right? So 2-hour and 4-hour are great day trading scalps, right? Meaning that you can, when the 2 and the 4-hour are together, you can enter a 30, like a 40 to a 60x leverage trade down, because you have those in there. and you can, as long as your checklist, right? So what's the checklist? Checklist real simple. 1 hour not pointing up, 30-minute, 15-minute, all in your favor. Boom, you go over to your 3-minute entry, 3-minute red moon, 3-minute red trend, 3-minute RSI heading down in your favor. There's your entry. Stop loss you're putting at your 25% or 20%, and then your take profits at 25%, right? So that's kind of like the base of a simple B trade, right? So what
on that example that you were just telling me, and you said the 2 hour and the 4 hour has to be in your favor, like those then have to be with the red ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So just checklist, right? Here's your checklist, right? So the checklist is always this: 1 hour, 30, 15-minute RSI. The 1 hour can be flat. The 30-minute can be flat. You just don't want them pointed up, right? So it's quick checklist, right? Obviously, if they have more room to run down, better trade. But sometimes things are so heavy in negative volume that it's going to pull down. That's the difference where you start understanding when you look at the volume and you realize it's going negative. Well, then the 1 hour is going to be flat and 30 minutes is going to be flat, right? So you just need the checklist. So as soon as you see a trade, right? So let's say, for instance, how a trade breaks down, right? So the first part of a trade is I see the 2 hour cross, right? As soon as the 2 hour crosses, right, I go into, I go look at my 1 hour. Is it heading down or is it on the bottom, right? Boom. Next, my 30-minute and my 15-minute. That's the very first thing I do. Because then once those aren't heading down with me, I don't have a trade yet anyways, right? But then I know when my trade is coming, because let's say the 15-minute is headed up and the 30 is headed up, right? Then I know when those both turn down with the 1 hour, then I know I have a trade, right? So that's kind of like the simplicity of it. 2 hour crosses, 1 hour, 30, 15-minute headed down. Okay, these are all headed down. We have a trade. Next thing, slide to our 3-minute very quickly. Red moon, red trend. RSI top starts to head down. There's our entry, right? That's how easy it is to make that trade. Now, as you look, and that's the 2 hour. That's just that's a basic C, like a basic C trade right there, right? That's the C trade. Now, I like to, I like my shorts. And now this trade is based on if you're using a 40 or 60% leverage. I like to tighten it up where once my entry is in pretty good, I don't like to see any losses, and I'm starting to change this for you guys because it's like we need to get better at entries, right? So I'm starting to move the stop loss to where it's like a 10, right, or 10 or 15, something like that, right? Because if it hits the stop loss, that means your entry was poor, right? And you need to fix that. So you put let's say you put a 10% stop loss or 15, right? Say 10. We'll say 10, right? And you see you get stopped out, and you go back and look, and you're like, what happened, right? And you realize that the volume wasn't negative on the 3-minute. You're like, ugh, okay, let me fix that. And then you wait for that to reset, or maybe the 3-minute RSI was at the bottom and you didn't notice and it bounced on you. So you let it reset, you review it again, and then you take another entry, right? Boom, you get in. Goes back down, 10% stop loss, you get back in, you're moving your chains, and then you get a positive where it jumps to like 15% profits, right? You move your stop loss to 0, right? So now you're set in there. It bounces back, stops you out. Okay, I'm not in the right trade yet. Now you go back and look and you start reviewing, get you a little more involved in your trade. Then you realize like, okay, I still have a little movement here, or the 1 hour is on the bottom with the 30. I need to wait here, right? So then you let this, the 15-minute come through, and you're watching, you're just step by step going through it. And you're like, all right, let me let the 3-minute come back up. All right, I'm going to enter again. And then eventually you catch that run where that trade will drop, start moving for you, right? So now when you get to 15%, you move your stop loss to 0. You get to 25%, you move your profit to 15. And then when it jumps above 35%, that's when you can move over to your 20% profits. And from there, you can just lock it in and now let it run because you got your 20%, right? Yeah. And what's that going to teach you is to stop getting in on the early side of things, right? And that's kind of where guys are making the mistake, is they're just getting in too early, right? So it really just comes down to waiting. Now, the trade that I like is basically I wait for the 2 hour to cross, right? And it's kind of like this. It really goes like this. So there's a trade called the pullback, right? And that's a separate trade. That's not a long trade. That's not a trade you're going to stay in for a long time. It's the pullback. It's basically when a coin is running and then all of a sudden the big people who got in early start selling off, and then it bounces and it does a double top or goes even further, and then it crashes. Okay. Now we never know how far a pullback's going to go. Sometimes it pulls back for 1%, sometimes a 0.5%, sometimes it dumps 5%. You know, it all depends, because once it starts dumping, it might just keep dumping. You never know. But this isn't a trade that you stay in long. This is a trade that you grab profits and move on with your life, because it's not set up to, it doesn't have a lot of entries. This trade is like this, right? When the 1 hour crosses, 15-minute red moon, right? So basically when the 1 hour crosses, I go to my 30-minute RSI, my 15-minute RSI. If they're topped and started looking like they're heading down, as soon as I get a 15-minute red moon, I go to my 3-minute red moon, 3-minute red trend, then RSI from the top down, I enter that pullback trade. This is a trade that you're going to use more of a 80% to 100% position, right? And you're going to take profits at 20 to 25, 30%. As soon as it hits, you're done, right? Now, that trade is over. Now you wait for the normal trade to come in, which is what? When the 2 hour and the 1 hour cross and create a C trade, right? Now you work over a C trade and see if that volume is down, right? And this is where the 15-minute volume has to be negative in order to do the trade, right? So that's your first entry on this short, is the 15-minute volume breaks the zero line and is heading down, you take an entry, right? Now you take this for 25, 30% on an 80 or 100x. Once that's done, now you wait for the next entry, which is the 30-minute volume going negative. That's your next entry, right? And then it moves to the 45-minute and then the 1 hour negative volume. Now, all that's happening while you're doing these quick trades is you're working the trade from a C to a B trade, because eventually the trade that I trade all the time is basically when the 4 hour crosses, right? Then when the 4 hour crosses, all I need to have is the 2 and the 1 hour crossing down or headed down with me. And then I go right to a checklist. So 4 hour crosses, as soon as that happens, 2 hour. I look at my 2 hour, it's headed down. My 1 hour is crossed, headed down. Now I go to my checklist. 1, 30, 15-minute, all headed down. Perfect. Now I already know. I don't have to worry about too much volume here because it's already set up.
The A trade, that's the problem that I have finding. Sometimes they see like the 1 hour or 2 hours will be like I don't know, like just in the bottom, you know, it will be in the bottom and then just kind of curve down a little bit, and that's when I'm like, okay, so is it heading up? Is it going down?
Well, that's so here's how you move. So the B trade starts. Okay, the B trade is when the 4 hour crosses. Okay, that's the beginning of the trades or the shorts that we want to look into. So as soon as we get a B trade, what's the 4 hour cross? The difference between a B trade and an A trade is simply the volume on the 1 hour. When it breaks below the 4 line and the seller's line on your volume indicator with the moons, when that breaks down, so you know how like I have a green and red one? When the red one breaks down, that's the entry to the A trade. So the B trade is 4 hour down crosses. That's the beginning of the B. How does a B become an A? The volume on the 1 hour breaks below the 4 and the red line breaks down. The sellers give up. That's where it is. Now when that happens, this is where you don't, this is basically the volume is so low it's dragging it. The 1 hour will most likely be pinned to the bottom. All right, you're probably going to see the 1 hour, the 30-minute pinned down, and maybe even the 15-minute, right? Wow. But that's okay at that moment because the volume is dragging it, pulling it down. And what you would be entering on is you would be running running off of the 2 hour and 3 hour, 2 hour and 4 hour pull down, right? And all you really need there is on the entry, once again, 3-minute red moon, 3-minute red trend. Boom, you're on your entry. Volume is the difference between B's and A's. And once you have volume dragging it down, that's where you won't get the bounces from the 1 hour or the 30-minute. You'll get that first trade. Now, once you make that first trade and you get that first short, now you need something to bounce, right? To show you that once you get out of that trade, now you need the 15-minute to go up and then start back down. Because that gives you breathing room, right? Or if the 15-minute starts up and then the 30 starts up and then the 1 hour starts up, well, that's out of your checklist, right? Because your checklist is 15, 1 hour, 30, and 15. But if they're all going up, now you're just going to sit back and you need to wait for the checklist. What's the checklist? 1 hour, 30, and 15 all headed down. Then that's the second leg to the A trade.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make.
And so I think that you need to just kind of follow the specific, crypto that you're trading or that you're waiting on, But just switching to different ones, it's just
Well,
kind of hard to keep track.
set your alerts. So I set all my alerts on the 4-hour RSI. Because I know when the 4-hour RSI crosses, then that's a B trade going to an A trade, and that's also the daily trade. So those are all three of the big trades. So that's how you set the alerts.
What do you have it set up at?
So I just hit the RSI, set it up, and I put it once per bar. And I set it on the 4-hour RSI cross.
On 4-hour RSI cross?
Yeah.
That's how you saw it set up?
Yep.
Well, I thought when I put the RSI alert on mine, is like it asks you like what the number, the RSI like 80, 90 or whatever.
Yeah, so when you go to your RSI, right? So you go to your RSI, you right click it. When you says add alerts, you go to the top add alert, and it's going to have so it should say RSI second level, should say crossing value, it has its value in there, and then it says trigger, right? Only once. I put per bar, right? Once you have per bar, you scroll down and it has all this information. It'll say like stochastic RSI 3344 crossing 752 on ETH, blah blah blah. So for me, I don't need to read all that. All I do is basically leave stochastic RSI on ETH on the whatever daily, right, or the 4-hour, right? And then once that's set in there, those are the alerts that I look for. Yeah, all them other little numbers, they don't really matter in there.
Okay, because I usually just have it set up to where, once it hit 90, then it alerts me, but it hits 90 on either going up and it hits 90, or on the way down and it hits 90 again,
Yeah, just put it on the crossing.
Okay.
Yeah, put it on the crossing and then go look at it. And then that'll actually alert you early. That's why I use the 4-hour, because normally if you get alert on the 4-hour, it's more than likely the 2-hour was crossing earlier. So it kind of gives you to where you go look at a coin and go, hey, this is actually starting to set up. But that way you're not like trapped there waiting on a coin. So when you watch those, I sent both videos to your DM. So when you watch them, I think these two videos will kind of give you an idea of like the big trade, and then you'll be able to work inside of that trade a lot more efficiently. So you'll start realizing like, okay, that's the trade. Okay, this is where it's starting to reverse. So that way you're not like trying to force a short when you're at the end of a short.
Yeah.
And the way what you've been doing in setting up, that's what I was saying the other day. You said something interesting. You were like, hey, when I see what'd you say, like a daily moon, it normally pumps a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was something you said, and I was like, hit me up. We're gonna go. I want you to show me where you're seeing this, because I wanted to show you where to see why that happens, right? Because that's going to be based on the 3-hour trend in volume.
Yeah. So I think it was yesterday when I was noticing that all these coins with the on the daily they had the green moon, they were popping, and I was like, well, which one of these coins has a red moon so I can just buy in?
Yeah.
And then wait until the green moon, the ones that are closer to pop a green moon. Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
That's where I was.
And that's like, so that's why I was saying, like, when you get time, we'll jump in and show me where you were seeing that. So I want to show you on the 3-hour why that's happening, right? So
Uh,
now watch those 2 videos and then come back and you'll see like what I'm talking about. But this is
yeah.
all about finding like the using the indicators, and everybody kind of learns a little different. So what makes sense or what this and that, and it's all about having 5 steps, right? So 3 steps to find a trade. Like here's how it works: you need 1 step to find a trade. My 1 step is basically always the 4-hour crossing. That's the beginning of my trade. Then I do a checklist: 1 hour, 30-minute, 15-minute RSI going in my direction. Okay, this is a trade. Now I slide down. I take a look at the basics, which is my 3-hour moon and trend, and then basic. That's kind of where now I'm in a zone of a trade, and then I work from there. All right, so that's how quick you can see something and go, okay, this, and this. Okay, perfect, right? So once the RSI crosses, I go through the checklist. So when the 4-hour crosses, I look for the 1 hour, 30-minute, 15-minute heading down. I know there's a trade there. So now I slide into my 3-minute moon and trend, and I start picking it at, because that's the trade that's already happening.
Yeah. I'm actually gonna. I was gonna. Well, I supposed to today. Was gonna teach my wife how to do it.
Yeah.
Because she's better at taking profits than me.
Well, yeah, no. So here's what I want you to do, right? So take her to the Discord. Send me. Does she have her own Discord?
No.
Okay. So tell her to go to when she comes in, put her on the academy but start course. Okay. So she'll have all that basics right there. So have her watch those videos are 15-minute long. They're real quick. They're just the basics, right? So I'm changing it all down and I'm breaking them down to 15-minute introductions. And then when I do a particular trade, it's like 1 hour of how to do that trade. But then the other things like the entry of the trade, what you're looking for, those will all be 15 minutes. So tell her to start with the start course. Tell her to watch those videos and go down. And then when she's done there, put her in the position trade and have her start with that. Because the position trade's real easy, right? Here's how it goes. What you're looking for is a daily red moon. Okay? When she gets the daily red moon, that means a trend is coming. Now all she needs is to find the 4-hour RSI or the 2-hour RSI crossing down. When the 4-hour and the 2-hour start crossing down, right? Now she's on her entry system, right? Which is the 1 hour, the 30, and the 15-minute heading in her direction, right?
Yeah.
Then she goes to 3-minute red moon. She gets in. She's using 10x leverage, right? And then boom, she puts a stop loss. She puts her profit at 20. And once you put your stop loss, you just basically, she can set her profits at 50%. And what happens is she stays in that trade, right? Because the close the short is basically when the 4-hour RSI turns up, joins the 3-hour RSI with a 3-hour green moon. So that would be the closing of it. That's a real simple process for her to basically get into.
So you said the daily red moon, then go back and wait for the 3-hour red moon.
Yeah. So once you have a daily red moon, right?
Yeah.
The entry is going to be the 4-hour RSI with the 2-hour
Okay.
RSI headed south.
Got it.
And that
Nice.
right there, yeah. So that's the whole thing right there. So as soon as she gets where she gets to the point where, let me change this a little bit here. There we go. So trade starts off like this. You get a 4-hour daily red moon, right? Once that happens, that's confirmation of a trade. Now the trade that you want is the 2-hour and the 4-hour RSI headed down with the daily RSI. Okay? That's the trade right there. 4-hour daily red moon. Once you have a daily red moon, you need the 2 and the 4-hour RSI, which is the B trade. When the B trade hits and starts heading down, now you look for the 4-hour RSI to head down. Once the 4-hour RSI joins the 2 and the 4, then that's an entry point right there. Now that trade goes until the daily RSI turns up and joins the 3-hour RSI and 3-hour green moon.
Okay. All right. Well,
And that's something simple because she's only.
And see if she can handle it.
Yeah, that's bro. That's the easiest trade in the world, right? And she's doing 10x leverage, right? And these trades go for a long time because once she does her 10x leverage, now her alert is basically the alert she gets is when the daily RSI sends an alert that it's crossing back over. Now, if there's a 3-hour RSI also headed up and a 3-hour green moon, you're out to trade.
Yeah. All right.
So have her go to the position trade, and then when she knocks that out, that'll help her out right there. That'll be a simple trade for her.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully.